Good morning again. Joined on stage by two new guests. This time we're straddling the globe. We're going from France across to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Joined on stage by Pierre Keleha, who's the CEO of the French company Fermentalg, and also by Haidar Al-Satour, who is from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and has a number of roles within the kingdom, and he'll talk more about those in a minute. I'd like to turn first to Pierre, and we're not going to mention rugby, I do promise.
Maybe in 2 weeks we will.
Maybe in 2 weeks if you guys beat New Zealand. The first question really would be if you could just describe how you came to be CEO of Fermentalg. What is the journey that you have been on together?
Wow, it's now a long story because I have started to work nearly 30 years ago about microalgae. In fact, I was within the generation of the first people working in marine aquaculture. In the years 82, 83, I have joined the first marine fish farm in France. And the French were very active in this time. There was the French, the English, and I don't know if John Sweetman is around, but he was also one of the pioneers. And so as you know, when you want to produce marine fish farm, like sea bass or sea bream, you have to produce microalgae first. Still now, you have to reproduce the full cycle of the life. And so I start to put my hands in microalgae at this time. And just to try to go quick, then I joined France Aquaculture, and France Aquaculture was the commercial part of Ifremer. And inside France Aquaculture, we have started the first marine fish farm in Greece, in Turkey, in most of the Mediterranean countries. And from that, I have started my first company in the years 90. It was a company designed to produce feed for the larval stage of the hatcheries. So of course microalgae was important, and the idea was to replace the microalgae produced at this time inside the hatchery by a consumable. So we have tried to produce microalgae with all the different kind of technology, the open ponds, the photobioreactors, everything, and then we went to heterotrophy, and so that was the foundation of Fermentalg, in fact, and from that, finally we came to the mixotrophy, which is the technology that we are developing inside Fermentalg. But I want just to tell you a story, about aquaculture and this time of work. When I remember a kind of conference like that at the beginning of the aquaculture time, when we start to produce the first sea bass. And I was working in that farm, Les Poissons du Soleil, owned by Georges Balma. And during an exhibition, Georges started to explain that he wanted to produce 500 tons of sea bass. And someone shake hand in the public and say, "Are you crazy? What you say, you want to produce 500 tons of sea bass, but do you know what is the total production of the fishery, the catch of sea bass in all the Mediterranean Sea? It's 3,000 tons. So what do you want to do? You want to destroy everything with your 500 tons?" And everyone inside the public start to feel, okay, depressed, okay. So now, talking about fish farm, marine fish farm and sea bass, if your farm is only about 500 tons, you are not even inside the statistic. I don't know what is now the total production of sea bass in all the world, but it's maybe someone knows 100,000 and it is following the salmon industry. So this is to come to our business, which is now just starting, microalgae. And sometimes it seems to me that it is the same story.
You founded the company, and you're also the CEO, and I know you've still got a significant shareholding in the company. You've been successful in attracting investors to invest in your company. What is the secret of that success, convincing investors to invest in your business?
Well, I don't think that there is real secret, but the company is based in innovation. I think we need innovation, and innovation is the real engine of the economy. This is my feeling. And Fermentalg is an innovating company, definitely. First of all, the technology is really new. The view of the microalgae in the first step was to consider the microalgae as plants. And then from plants, the Americans and the Japanese start to produce by heterotrophy, which is more a kind of animal view of the microalgae. And so by working, by using all the different technology, we came to mixotrophy, and now we consider the microalgae not like plants, not like animals, but something like between plants and animals. This is a new view, because we have in our head, we have separate plants and animals. And we consider that there is a wall between the plants and the animals. Talking about microalgae, that wall does not exist. So they are able to produce oils, proteins, and most of the molecules that you can find in the plants, but also most of the molecules that you can find in the animals. And this was an innovating position for the microalgae.
I know that you're very close to completing the construction of your first facility. You are in discussions with a number of potential future customers. What do you see as being the key opportunities going forward for your business?
Well, yes, that's right. We are now building that factory. That technology, the mixotrophy, is we start to now control very well that technology. I'm talking about the result that we get with that technology. It is an easy way to produce the microalgae compared to the autotrophy and the heterotrophy. And by using the two parts of the microalgae, we reduce the cost, and we are able to. There is things that you cannot do when you are only using the sugar in the dark. The microalgae, it is a fact, they need light. But also, if you provide some sugar or any kind of carbons, you can go to a very, very high level of productivity. So we have patented that technology. We have something like now more than 120 patents, and I think we are the only player with that technology. So the factory that we are building in nearby Bordeaux will allow us to produce about something like 1,000 tons of product. And we hope that the factory will be finished for the end of the year. And next year is going to be for us the beginning of the big sales, I will say.
And when you look at sectors and potential future customers, where do you see the biggest opportunities for the sale of your product?
Well, the business model of Fermentalg is not really to sell directly to the customers. We are working from groups, big groups all over the world, and we are developing the molecules which are inside the microalgae. And there is a lot, as you know, to exploit inside the microalgae. So for that companies, we are involved in program around oils, of course. And the molecules goes from the small chain, C8, C10, up to, even you can produce hydrocarbons with the microalgae, which is incredible. We are working also in proteins, in polysaccharide, and some other ingredients which has a high potential with microalgae. So we are following that programs for that big company. We have about, I would say, between 15 and 20 programs where we are working for big groups. And most of that program will come to production and to the market in the coming years. So Now for the next years, the first molecule are arriving.
And there are always opportunities, but I suppose there's always challenges in any business. What would you describe as being the key challenges that you are currently facing or may facing going forward?
Well, you know, again, I say that I think innovation is the key, and sometimes when you make innovation, you are fighting with the present. You know, people who are doing business, like for example, if you are producing feed or for aquaculture, you consider that you do is right, and the other one are wrong. So innovating is always fighting with the present and trying to open new door. And sometimes when you look back to you, people say, "Oh, okay, you are now making the history." And so yeah, it's I think innovation is important, and there is not enough innovation in our business. There is many innovation in many business, but talking about aquaculture and yes, John was saying that we have to take risk, and we have to consider that maybe we have to include more DHA inside the feed, because if not, tomorrow we will face a problem. So no one wants to move, and no one wants to take risk. That's a mistake. We have to write the history, and we have to decide what is going to be good for tomorrow, and because everything is going to change. Tomorrow, I think John is right, tomorrow people will not accept fish without high quality, without DHE, with all of that. So we have to prepare all of that.
And final two questions. Innovation, you put a lot of emphasis on innovation being important going forward. How do you keep the quality and the energy behind innovation going in your company? It's so important to your future success. How do you keep that energy alive in your business?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. I think there is a lot of passion on what we are doing. When you work about microalgae, or when you work about technology around the blue economy, most of the people that I meet are passionate. It's fantastic to work in that field and develop the new molecules for tomorrow, and not only that, definitely I'm sure that we bring solution to big problems. Talking about, everyone knows that tomorrow proteins is going to be a problem. We know that we will have plenty of oil to satisfy our needs, talking about oil, but it is not the case of protein. So we will bring maybe a solution with microalgae. So it's fascinating.
Pierre, thank you very much. I think I started by asking one of the questions, what's the secret to your success? And I think it's evident from your passion, your energy, and clearly your love for what you do. So very many best wishes for when you get that first product sold to your first main customer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Haider, assalamu alaikum. I know that within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you have 3 key roles. I wonder if you could describe to the audience what those 3 roles are.
Thank you. Currently, I will talk about this role for over the past 5 years. I mean, the main role really is the chairing the National Committee on Developing the Strategy for Fisheries Development. This has been recently approved. We have been working for 5 years. And I think based on what we have seen, this is one of the best of its kind, hopefully in the world. It's a model. Of course, developing that, we have explored all the existing strategies everywhere in the world. And I think this is a masterpiece. But the key is whether it will be implemented or not. That is the key. The second role is as a director in Arabian Shrimp Company. This company is owned, the majority of its shares, by an non-governmental organization. So the shareholders are 22 countries. So the aim, very ambitious plans, unfortunately until now, did not materialize the way we were expecting, but hopefully over the next few years, something will come up. The third role is we are working, a ribbon shrimp company, along with other leading companies, regional, to develop what I would say is the fully integrated aquaculture and algae culture, by the way. For us, we say algae and aqua, it's aqua anyway. So, park. We would like really to change the face of the industry over the next decades. It has, the way it's been done, we have been this line for the last 25 years, and we have learned a lot over the past, and I think that it's the time, as exactly you just said, the future is different, and it has to be different, and we have to learn from what we have done. So we are working with a consortium of leading organizations to form this, I would say, aquaculture park, the model, and this led us to tour the world maybe 2-3 times. We have been to the States, Norway. I think we stopped over maybe 20 countries, learning, listening, and I think that it will not be long before you hear from us on our next development. Thank you.
Everybody associates the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with as being desert, hot, sand. I know you also have a very long coastline, in fact 2 long coastlines. Strategically, where is the government in Saudi Arabia, where are they channeling and focusing the strategy relating to the blue economy and aquaculture?
Very good question. It seems you have read the strategy. This strategy, I think under the current circumstances in the kingdom, stating that it was just approved last month, it reflects the importance of the strategy to the kingdom, because it's desert, because it's hot, because of the long coastline. Because of that, aquaculture development and biomarine is important. The strategy reflects that the contribution to GDP can be more than 2.5%, next to oil and gas anyway, same as Norway. So this is really important in terms of employment. This can be the first sector, non-public sector, which can contribute to employment. So it is so important, and we are not reinventing the wheel. I mean, you can see how aquaculture and bioeconomy can contribute to the development of countries. So it is extremely important, and the leadership, we know that they are convinced that this is going to be the second largest economy after oil and gas.
And in terms of species that you're considering, are you constrained in any way because of the climate and location by species, or can you farm and develop most species?
Another good question. You know, we have, it's not a small coastline, it's 2,400, but it's up from Jordan border to Yemen, from Kuwait to Oman. So, for your information, we are culturing, let's say, European species in the north. We are culturing tropical species in the south. And this is allowing really a variety of species. We will not go for salmon, for example. It's not our species, but the very important part here is algae. We know, I was attending the ABO, Algae Biomass Summit last week in Washington, D.C., and we know that there are probably 3 zones in the world which considered the best for algae cultivation. And one of them is our region. So when we talk algae, I think the focus in the future will be algae plus fish. In the past, if you asked 5 years ago, we would have said fish and algae, but I will say now it's algae and fish, and the plans are huge. I would say We need it, actually. It's not luxury. It's not just for export. We need it. Our country import 14 million tons every year of ingredients of forage and for feed. How much of that can come from algae? I mean, that by itself is a potential.
This ramping up, this scaling up of the industry in the kingdom, how much, I guess some of that will be for domestic consumption, but a large proportion would be for export. Where are your logical export markets from the kingdom?
Okay. The export market, if we talk fish, the export market was not really the main drive behind it. Food security was. Of course, many people say fish is not food security, but for us, because we don't have plantation, I mean, so it's either this or imports. So we expect that by the end of the strategy, I mean, it's 15 years from now, by 2030, we expect that the local consumption will be in the range of 650,000 ton. The target is 1 million ton. So there is a portion for export, and we already identified the species, the destinations for such species. But it's for export, it will go for the higher value species, mainly shrimp, I would say.
Some of the Norwegian guests were talking about the opportunity to cooperate, co-develop, share research and development techniques. To what extent within the kingdom are you reaching out to other people to help you realize this ambition that you've set?
To the extreme, really. I'm not going to say that, it's not off the shelf. The Norwegian school in developing sustainable aquaculture strategy is remarkable, and it's been already taken very well into account when we develop our strategy. There are other countries, of course. As I mentioned, we screened the world in that. I would say definitely without such cooperation, we will not be able to achieve our goals. So it's Norway when it comes mainly to cage, to to closed systems. It is US when it comes to other kinds of systems. It's even China when it comes to other systems. But I would like to emphasize that we will be focusing mainly on systems that environmental friendly, sustainable, able to scale up, and it's, in another word, it is not going to be the traditional systems, the conventional system. It will be the innovative, where technology and science can play a great role.
And I know that places like the Masdar Institute, for example, in the Emirates, have been looking at integrated systems where bringing on land as well. Is that something which you're also considering as part of the mix?
Yeah, certainly. How to say, we have to take parallel lines. In order to develop the industry, there is something that we have to do now, and there is something that we will consider for tomorrow. Now, yes, certainly yes. In that regard, by the way, since you mentioned this point, you may or may not, believe it, but the main obstacle is land. Okay? Now, I understand the restrictions in the state against aquaculture, but we don't have those restrictions. But land in our region, including UAE, for example, is the issue. You don't have land, and even if you want a sea space for your cages, it's so all of this will influence the performance of and the development of the plans in the future.
And you talked a lot about the opportunity. Similar question that I put to Pierre. What for you are the challenges going forward?
Challenges. Without challenges, you cannot really do anything. You have to be challenged in order to perform, to improve. So definitely international cooperation is important. We are looking for, unless we really find the right partners, and when I say partners, it's not just technology partners, it's technology partners, funding partners, offtake partners, and so on. Building the capabilities locally is another challenge. This is though we have been into this for the last 30 years, I would strongly stress that we don't have the caliber, the capabilities to develop it by our own. So it is so important that we get together and put our hands together in order to make it. It's not going to be the technology. It's not going to be maybe finance, but cooperation comes number one.
Haider, it's an exciting vision, a very compelling one. I wish you every success, and shukran.
Thank you.
Thank you.